Hi, my name is MJ. I'm a tattoo artist. I work at the studio behind me, Studio 112 at Lansdowne. Today we're going to be tattooing a Pokemon.
Pretty often.
I wouldn't recommend center. Because
I already know,
originally my parents are from Bangladesh, but I was born in Dubai. And I was there for 15 years, and then I moved to Canada with my parents, attended university, did sciences, hated it, and then just kind of found my way into tattooing from there. My parents are very typically a little bit like traditional minded and a little bit more conservative. So they weren't really about me pursuing the arts ever. Even growing up in school, they were very much on this, education. I didn't really grow up doing much sports or arts. So I felt very stunted at that level, creativity wise. But after I did move here, it was just very apparent that I'm meant to be a creative. So I just kind of decided to go for it. I would doodle a lot. I would, and it's funny because while doing homework, if you went through my pages, they're all just filled with drawings and art, and I would hide them because I was technically supposed to be studying during that time. So it was very much, in me, but I never really got to express it because it's just never really encouraged. It was in the Middle East, so it's a very different place. It's sheltered, very censored. You're not able to express yourself as much as you are here. So I prefer Canada over Middle East for sure. But because it was a childhood part of my life, a lot of things kind of went over my head, I guess. Even though I was born in the Middle East, most of the countries there they don't grant you citizenship, even despite you being born there. So it was very much like an identity crisis for me when I moved here. So I was like, am I Bangladeshi? Am I Middle Eastern? Am I Canadian? But figured out my way. My dad worked there for over 40 years and he retired and they were like, bye, see ya. I have a tattoo artist friend who, I did this mermaid on his leg, his calf. And he's like, every time I shave my beard, I shave the face of the mermaid because I'm like, I don't want it to be like a hairy-faced mermaid. My mom and my dad, they decided that, again, there's no real future in the Middle East, in UAE, because their education standard, let's say I went to higher studies there, it's not equivalent to North American standards, and it would just be it's not internationally recognized. So for the better of kind of thinking family-wise and education and kids, my parents decided to immigrate to Canada. They actually wanted to do the States or Canada or Australia. They were just anywhere but here. And Canada was the first one to kind of hit us back. Yeah, and then one thing led to another. We just kind of moved. We actually moved to Ottawa first. I did high school there. I started in grade 10, which was a very, very interesting time for me because I felt like I was in a movie. I was like, this is what I've seen in movies. I actually went to it wasn't an all-girls school. It was just segregated. So just having to have a North American high school experience without any prior, knowledge of it, it was definitely interesting. So that was a hard time in Ottawa, I would say, for me to kind of find friends, figure out my identity at that growing age, from 15 to 19. And I was very sick of it. But I knew a couple friends from back home who had moved to Toronto instead of Ottawa. And I kind of was like, that's all I know. I need a new kind of fresh start. I hate it here in Ottawa, and so I just applied to universities in Toronto, got into U of T, moved here, and it's been over 10 years. I've just been in Toronto. I guess I learned that this was like a low that I never wanted to be at. It was just like, I thought that, you know, Canada was going to be like this amazing, like I'll party all the time, like, you know, everyone's going to be friendly and this and that. And it was not that at all. It was just like, I wouldn't say experienced bullying, but I kind of like saw it. And it was just like bizarre, like, why is that happening here? Commuting in Ottawa, like the winters were brutal, you know? It was just like, yeah, when I moved from there, I mean, I can look back and I guess I could be like, I'm not the type of person to regret any period of time, even though it was like a really low period of my life. I know that without that low, you can't really experience the high, right? So it's kind of like a reminder to me that things are always going to be better. And like, even if, you know, I thought as a high schooler, the world was over, but, you know, here I am, you know, years and years from now, and things are okay. I guess, you know, like try to take the silver linings from experiences, even despite Ottawa being like a depressing time for me. I would say the last year of my university for Bachelor's of Science at U of T, it was the hardest probably time to just power through it when I 100% knew that I didn't want to do this. And it was my last year and I was very much like, do I give up? Do I just go through with it just so I can have it? Do I pursue other things? It was very much like a monumental time for me. So I kind of decided to get it over with, because let's say I would say I'm a little bit logical. So I thought, let's say I do pursue something in the arts. If it doesn't work out, I guess I'll always have my science degree to fall back on. So I just kind of finished it. But it was all electives during that time. So I took an art history course. I took mythology. I took a few just like elective type of courses, which you know, introduced me to like a few people of like different streams in the university. I took a year off to kind of figure out what I wanted to do right after graduating. So I found like a mural course, kind of like a workshop, and then I found all these like random kind of artsy, crafty like things to do online, little groups, community groups, organizations, things like that. And then that kind of led me to like a bigger mural opportunity at Centennial College, which I learned that they have like all these arts programs. So I did a diploma for an arts and design degree. And that kind of opened my eyes to tattooing. It almost didn't exist for me, I would say, because my parents are quite religious. Like I said, they're very conservative minded, and they're also quite religious, Islamic, and tattoos are forbidden in their religion. So for me in my head, and I grew up with that religion, right? So for me, it was like, that would never happen. Like, straight hellfire, like no way. And so it was only after taking that degree was I talking to like all these art students who had tattoos, and I would talk to them like, oh, like, what does that mean? Or like, what, and so how did you get it? And we had this assignment where it was like, make your own tattoo designs. And that kind of, I think, was like the pivotal kind of shift, where I was like, I started getting tattoos at the same time. I was doing all these like creative stuff, and then I was talking to the artists, and I was like, well, I think I can really do this. And I mean, it took a while for me to kind of become, or to even say that I am a tattoo artist, because there was a lot of finding an apprenticeship and going through that, the whole process of like shifting through shops and strange bosses and just like typical industry things. But that was, I would say, the college experience kind of opened my eyes a little bit to the art world. Oh, that's so cute.